Hey everyone, Sergio P here. Today we're going to try to fit all of this gear here into this bag over here, because this is what I need and that's what I've got. I'm packing for a local gig coming up in a few days, and I think a lot of what I'm bringing might be helpful for you, whether you're also a product photographer or if you shoot portraits as well. This is a small budget, so I won't be renting anything. I need to think of what I'm going to need based on my brief and calculate it if it's worth carrying the extra weight for everything I decide to bring. Today I'll only be going over my camera bag specifically, but since I have to carry everything, I'm going to use some of my smaller gear and save myself a trip. Basically, I'll be combining my light bag and my camera bag. I still have a big bag of grip and stands and all that, so I will do a separate video on that. And also it all goes onto my roller cart, which I can often use as a tether station when I need it. Actually, I should probably do a whole video on my roller cart as well, because quite honestly, every time I use it, I find myself saying, this is the best investment in my career I've ever made. This video isn't all-inclusive by any means, but I will be sharing some of my thoughts on why I'm bringing every single piece of gear that you see here, see if you might have a similar use case, or maybe interest you in buying some of this little non-tech stuff that I have here that you might be overlooking. So first off, let's do the front pocket. It's mostly unusual stuff, so it might be a little bit different than what you're used to seeing. And actually, just before that, the bag itself is a Think Tank Airport Traveler. It's got the rollerblade style wheels on the bottom, which are miles ahead from the Pelican case that I also have. It makes such a difference when you're rolling on anything that isn't carpet. Pelican case is super loud and kind of uncomfortable in most situations. But this bag is great. It's also soft-sided, so it helps to squeeze those extra inches, or even just compact sometimes, because not every plane is built the same, and sometimes you get stuck in a much smaller than advertised seat. So just keep that in mind. First thing I like to put up at the top, actually no, this is just something that lives in my bag realistically, but I always have a few business cards. These are great to have. These are fun little just keep-aways. People just tend to throw away business cards anyway, so might as well just make yours a little bit more stand-outy. It is one thing though in today's world that you think you might not need business cards, everything's online, but I gotta say at least 1 in 2, 1 in 3 times where I'm out shooting, especially out in public, if I've got a bunch of C-stands out, I've got a big tether station, I've got a decent sized production going, then it just raises questions. And sometimes people need photographers for XYZ reason. You don't need to say yes to every one of those gigs, but sometimes it does happen where you kind of just find the perfect client for yourself. So it doesn't hurt to keep on hand, a few bucks here and there, and yeah, keep them current, keep them up to date, and you'll be good. Next up, I also keep this little handy dandy little level. It just fits up there, so that's why I keep it in here. Perfect, just like that. Also, should never forget, we're always little kids anyway, so I always bring my little tech deck. I don't know, just be a kid. Don't be afraid to be silly. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, there's no motto to that. I'm silly. It's good to be silly. Next, I think that is it for that top pocket. Let's zip that up. There we go, first pocket. Next up over here, there's a little hidden pocket. In that little hidden pocket in the top, I just keep pens. I just like to keep pens and these little zip ties. You never know when you need them. A lot of this stuff is you rather have it and not need it than not have it and need it, or whatever the expression is. There we go. Zip that up, and then we're good to go. Now let's open the bag and see what else I can put in there. So I need a little bit more juice than just my 8200s. So for this one over here, for this shoot over here specifically, we're gonna grab the big guy. We're gonna grab the big light, the 8600, and the accompanying battery, which is over here, which I've already set aside. Actually, I'm just gonna slide this on. So usually what I'll do is I'll put the second battery up here, but I'm using it to light up the set right now. Let's just pretend that doesn't exist. So next up, so this camera here isn't actually the camera that I bring with me, but it is my placeholder for the camera that I'm shooting this with. It's got a fixed lens, so I can't take it out. But oddly enough, this is the little X100, the original, the first one. And this all black version apparently is I think 1 in 500 made or something. I didn't know at the time, but the camera itself is actually what got me into Fuji, and I just loved how it looked. I love how it felt in my hands, and I just felt especially with the 35mm equivalent, every picture turned out exactly the way I wanted it to. So I bought this. It was a fun little walk around camera, and it made me buy the X-Pro, and it's history from there. So my little camera, I usually just shove it up here. Obviously it doesn't have the lens, so it kind of fits a little bit easier. And I usually keep the caps for it right in the top pocket, right over here. So this kind of keeps it's usually a little bit thinner than that because of the camera, but for the sake of this video, this works. Next, I'm gonna need my macro lens. I always need my macro lens. I use it almost every single shoot. So we're gonna fold it over, take up a little bit less room, put it in over here. There we go. Next, we got the 33. When I don't need to be as close, or I don't need as much compression, we use the wide lens, or the equivalent of a wide lens when it comes to portrait work for the most part. For product work for the most part. Now there are times I need more compression than the 80 mil. I'm going to a fairly big space, so since I'll have the room for it, I'm going to try to use this 50 to 140. If you haven't seen the video on my reviews for any of these lenses, actually, I've linked them right up. Actually, I'll link them down in the description. I've got one for this guy, I've got one for the 33, I've got one for the 80 mil as well. Since we're speaking reviews, you should check out my review on the 8600 and these guys over here, the 8200s, because apparently this is the review channel now. But you guys seem to really like them, so I'm just keep doing them, just from the perspective of a real life working photographer. So next up, I have my two 8200s. So over here, this little setup that I'm doing is a way to be a bit more portable, but still having plenty of light, at least as a key light. So I have my 8600 for all the power that I need, since I'll be shooting most of these at like 7.1, f8. So I need a little bit more juice than what these can provide. But I can put them together and create a nice strong backlight to pretty much compete with the 600 as a main light, or have them separately to light up, let's say, a big room, which I will be doing this week. So these over here go just like that. Boom, right over there. Always have a roll of gaff tape, super important. Again, one of those rather need it and rather not need it and have it than not have it and need it. I forget what the expression is, but I'll look it up. Need some gaff tape. Good enough. Works. Next, all right, let's do the pouches. I keep them relatively light just because I have some stuff going on the other side as well. But basically I have a little working backup drive. It's a little this one's a T7. I have like the T6, the T3. I have a bunch of these. These are fantastic. Definitely get your hands on these if you need to, if you have to, if you can, you should have to. You should need to keep yourself a backup on hand. I usually buy the computers with the smallest amount of local drive because the markup on hard drives, especially for Apple, is kind of ridiculous. So I just buy a bunch of SSDs, keep them on the side, and they work just as good. So put these right up here. And I will also throw this guy up there. This is just a gray card, great for neutralizing everything, getting your colors right. Next, another thing that's absolutely important, definitely check out my video on the main reasons for getting yourself a tether cable, but this right here is basically a lifesaver. I wouldn't dare do any client shoot without it. Even personal shoots, it's just funner to use. I can look at my stuff and just correct it right on hand and not have to worry about being in Photoshop the next day and being like, oh, I wish I shot a different way. So, very important. It's got its own pocket right up here. Boom, zoom back close. And I did forget over here, got my trigger right over here. Very important not to forget. You don't want to forget that on set. Just bear in mind. Next, we can close that up. And finally, in the front pouch, I forgot to take this out, but I usually keep just a little reflector, a little small little piece of cardboard. Mostly as a protector for the computer, but also just as sometimes you never know when you need one of these, so just keep that up here. And then close this laptop, and there we go. And that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're thinking about making the switch from hobby to career, click this video right over here. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe for more videos every week, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.